And I'm joined by Rory McDonald from Voodoo Bloo for episode 40 of the Only Scott podcast.
Hello, how's it going?
I'm good, man. From Wellywood.
Yes,
all the way to the CJD. You know what that stands for?
I don't know what that
Central Jeffers District.
well, thank you for welcoming me in. It's great, and especially to be part of the 40th episode. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm a little bit buzzed out that I've actually got up to 40 episodes, but yeah,
for sure.
It's cool.
Yeah.
But what brings you to the land of the Jeffers?
So my week has been pretty full on of watching gigs and doing things like that. So on Thursday, I went to Mogwai in Wellington. Friday, Queens of the
sick.
Stone Age.
I really wanted to see Mogwai, but I was a bit too late I was booked something else.
Dude, yeah, fair enough. I wish that I hadn't seen Queens of the Stone Age after Mogwai, because Mogwai...
Such a different vibe.
It's so different, don't get me wrong, but like Mogwai legitimately was like top 5 gigs of all time for me, and I don't even give as much a shit about them as I do Queens of the Stone Age.
Right, yeah.
So, I don't know, it could cause a little bit of emotional conflict, because it's just like, I care about Queens of the Stone Age more, but they didn't sound nearly as good, you know?
But the big band didn't quite do it.
Yeah, I know. It's wild. But yeah, anyway, then after that, yesterday was my sister's wedding. Could have been seeing Dinosaur Jr., so, you know, a little bit bummed about that. No, I'm kidding, of course. And then today I'm up here for Mr. Bungle.
Cool. Yeah. Mike Patton's strange project that he's Mr. Bungle.
Yeah. It was a toss-up between that and Black Country New Road that I was coming up for, but Mr. Bungle, to me, man, they're great. It was like the first moment that I had, because my parents let me listen to like My Chemical Romance when I was like 5 years old, and I grew up on like Arctic Monkeys and all that sort of stuff. So there was no music that they sort of found weird. And then I found Mr. Bungle at 13, and that was like my rebellion music, just some depressing clowncore sort of music. I had to see them, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, good time. Yeah, you're really involved in checking out all the gigs. That's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's commitment to the cause of the music.
For sure.
Mainly kind of in that rock, alternative, heavy metal, maybe
Yeah. I mean, it definitely moves all around the place. Funnily enough, I don't really listen to rock anymore. Like, that's not where my influences necessarily come from.
You find when you play something, you sort of start looking elsewhere for other things, because you guys are kind of like that, I don't know, punk rock, indie rock sort of genre, I guess, for my ears.
Yeah,
I guess if you're surrounded by that all the time, it's like, you want to start looking for
totally.
other things.
Yeah. I mean, on this project that we're sort of rolling out this year, I don't think I've really listened to anything apart from like MF Doom and Arcade Fire and bands like that, and it sounds nothing close to any of those bands, you know. So it's
But you can always find some cool sounds, or find some little bits, or you start subconsciously taking in other influences.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and I saw. It could be an absolute bullshit statistic, so just take this with a pinch of salt. But I read somewhere around the age of like 26 to 27, your catalog of music or the genres you listen to are sort of set in stone at that point in time, and people stop trying to discover new music at that point. And I was like, I find so much fun in doing this. It's sort of become, and it might not be the right thing to do, but it's sort of become a chore for me to be like, I need to find something new to listen to this week, or I need to listen to a new record, because I don't want to just be listening to the same thing forever. That definitely works for some people, and I don't think it's a bad thing at all, but I just don't want to lose the wonder of finding new shit. But yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. For me, I was really stuck on, like, I think for a while it was kind of rock, and then I had a bigger drum and bass phase.
Oh, nice.
And then kind of came back to metal and rock, and then went away again. And now I'm kind of in like this electro funk stage.
Oh, nice.
Of listening to music, and vaporwave. I was listening to a lot of as well.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Dabbling
for sure.
into all that, and really enjoyed it. So, and then I kind of like to try and keep things fresh. But I find what I used to listen to a lot of. Like, I understand people get set in stone, but I sort of like, I don't know, like listening to the same thing, it doesn't always hit the same for me anymore.
Yeah.
Like listening like a band that I loved when I was younger, so like let's just something off the bat. Like I still love Linkin Park to bits.
Oh, sure.
But
yeah.
sometimes they won't always hit the same as it did when I was like 15 or something.
Yeah.
Well, it means something different now.
Totally.
The meaning of it, and you can find something new in it. But I always like to try and find other things or stay interested with new sounds. But I don't know, do I actively look? I think as a byproduct from doing a lot of these podcasts and having other musicians on,
Yeah.
I kind of just find stuff regardless. Like listening to like your music and Voodoo Bloo. Yeah, that voice you do, how much are you putting that on? I was curious.
Yeah.
How much are you putting that on? Because to me it sounds like you're having like, it's not comedic, but a little.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean, and this has come up a lot because every time that I speak to somebody, they say that I sound like someone different. You know, maybe this doesn't work in our favor, but I think something that was very important to me, which ties back to Mr. Bungle, actually. I think that fitting the vibe of the song matters a lot more to me than sounding the absolute best that you can, if that sort of makes sense to you.
It does.
Of course, I will listen back to the takes that we do, and I will find the ones that I'm happy with, and I can sit there and happily listen to it and have it out on Spotify and be content. But at the end of the day, I think that if you can match the vibe of what's going on more than be able to hit everything exact to an auto-tune degree.
Yeah.
I think that matters more. It's not that I do voice acting, but I try to think of it more in a voice acting lens than I would in an actual singing lens.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
In terms of me putting it on, though, I don't know how conscious I am of that. Maybe there's something in my subconscious, like, sort of telling me to push it in a certain way.
Because the voice you put on kind of sounds like... in my ears, sounds a bit like a pompous English guy at times.
Well, yeah,
I understand. Maybe like I listened to that song "Hot Garbage" you guys got, and I was reading in the liner notes of on YouTube said it was about sort of like watching someone. Is it like watching someone like not famous but someone well known to become an idiot? Is that am I on the right way?
Yeah, I think that's the right way of putting it. It's definitely about like. People that you know that maybe you grow with a lot of people and people change for the better and whatnot, but there's
not always.
Well, that's the point, is the not always that cool. You know, sometimes you can be best boys with somebody that you know, and then they just start getting into these situations of just making stupid choices all the time, and it's just sort of a story of a fall from grace. But I mean, the English accent, I spent my formative years in England, not that you'd be able to tell talking to me now. But I don't know, I definitely started to sing when I was in England, and I don't know if that's just stuck with me for some reason, but...
It sort of sounds like that Morrissey, sort of like, almost like 80s, like new wave.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sure.
That's what your voice reminds me of.
Right, yeah, totally.
But the voice you put on makes me laugh, because I did a song I wrote called Whose Entitlement, and then I put on a sort of voice that was similar to that.
Right,
And I was like, I wonder if he's doing something similar.
Yeah. The English part is definitely got to be a subconscious bit for me, but in terms of like acting it up for the song that's being sung, there's probably a little bit of that in there for me, going, how do I voice act this? But yeah, that's the story of that song.
That's fun. Yeah, because some of the lyrics, like I was listening to, not just in Hot Garbage, but I think another one called like MMA.
Yeah.
Well, what's that? Well, I was trying to like figure out a little bit of what that was about. Is that about anything in particular?
That was basically just my first experiences going into town when I was like 18 years old, and just for the first time, just seeing
debauchery,
people in their element, in their zoo-like form.
Primal form.
Yeah. That's pretty much where that song came from. It's definitely got a similar vibe to Hot Garbage. It's the closest that we've come in like a few years to sounding how we did on that first record. But I don't know. I definitely think that I take myself less seriously now. It makes me put out way better music than I did in the past.
You probably have a bit more perspective now and life experience
Yeah,
to pull from.
Yeah, trying to get rid of the ego a little bit with music as well, which is...
Oh, we'll go through that.
It's a tough gig, but I don't know. I think in the process of making what we are at the moment, I stopped giving a shit about making art, and then I started to make better music out of doing that, so I think it's an even trade-off for me.
Yeah, the ego part's true. I had that as well, and I think a lot of musicians, when you're younger, music it's your identity.
Oh yeah.
I think as you grow older, it's like it's a part of you, but it's like I'm not defined just by music.
No, absolutely.
And my music taste. Life gets a bit busy.
Yeah, it totally does. It totally does. And without all of the extra stuff going on outside of music, then you have nothing to funnel it into to make a new song or album and things like that. If you're just solely consumed by music, then I didn't really have anything to say at that point in time without all of these extra things going on around me. So I don't know. I think it helps to stay busy for sure.
Is it more internal now, like where the music comes from, or are you still pulling externally? What's been the latest sort of lyrical or emotional I guess take?
I mean, I think nowadays it definitely the lyrics actually have come last probably on this album, but they're also the happiest I've been with them, because before I'd be writing poetry and then trying to fit a song around that, whereas this time around I can get the vibe of the song and just like Hot Garbage is a good example of that, where I was just able to speak about a friend at the time who was sort of going through a downfall, and then the new single that we've just announced called Cardboard Box Office, I had just finished watching Black Swan for the first time, if you've seen that film.
No, never seen it.
But it's just about Swan Lake, and it's portrayed through a very weird lens, and it just started me thinking about the music industry and the film industry, and sort of wondering how that all goes together. And that's how that song was made. It's definitely it's less conceptual and just more what's going on at the time, which I think is a bit more cathartic. At least at this point in my life. It could change up again where I'm wanting to plan out themes and concepts and write poems and all that kind of crap. But
did you start off being a poet before a musician?
No, I definitely, it was always music first. But yeah, the poetry came as a byproduct of making riffs and tunes and things like that for sure. But
so that's something you do a bit of, like you go out to do you like read poems at like poetry nights or anything like that?
Nah, it's nothing like that. I just intake it where I can. And when I do say poems as well, I'm probably thinking about it again more in a lyric form than anything else, even if there's no music to go along with it. It's just the process is always changing, and it makes it hard for me to keep up with sometimes and like figure out how I want to write a song at that point in time. It means that sometimes there's ideas that I'll sit on for like 3 years, or then there'll be something that gets finished within like 2 months, so yeah.
Because I think that just reminds me of like Black Flag, like with Henry Rollins, like the way he would do, I think, lyrics, a lot of it was just like spoken word. Or like with the poetry, and then now all he does is spoken word, doesn't even bother with the music anymore. Like the music's completely not even a part of it. Because I saw him live with Scotty, who used to do the podcast as well. And that was an interesting show. It's like slam spoken word.
Oh, really?
Basically how I describe it. It's so fucking intense.
Yeah, I could imagine.
But it's like I think you're the first person on here to mention poetry.
Oh, right. No, that's interesting.
No one else has mentioned like lyric, like thinking about lyrics as poetry, or writing poems to then take in, or starting off as a musician to then start doing poetry. Like, I haven't heard anybody else do that.
Yeah, I mean,
so far,
I definitely think that a lot of lyricists probably, I mean, they literally have that in them.
That's
because they're just doing it as a byproduct of, I'm making this song and I need some lyrics to go along with it. In a sense, they're creating poetry every time that they're trying to write something. But I guess it's just the perspective that they have about it. And
do you read poetry?
I mean, honestly, not too much. At least not anymore. It's kind of taken a back burner to other things, and
Sure.
me just being busy and whatnot. But
Because even like for myself, when I've written music and that, I've never read like apart from school, and when I had to,
Yeah.
and maybe in a few different scenarios, rare scenarios, like I've been to a few poetry nights and things like that. I don't ever think about poetry, or I read it.
yeah, I get what you mean. It's kind of like it's not something that's as easy to pick up as like a song or just like put on a TV show episode or something like that. And I think maybe that's why I don't do it nearly as much as I used to, or anything like that, or having to I don't know, try and interpret that. It can be a bit of a chore sometimes, but yeah.
So you guys have been around since 2019?
Yeah,
2019,
yeah.
it's about right. So, and playing in Wellington. You guys played anywhere else other than just Wellington? You played in Auckland. You played Big Fan? Did you do Big Fan?
We didn't do Big Fan, but we have been up here a couple of times. We've also been to Christchurch and Dunedin, and in 2022 we went to Sydney to play a couple of shows, which was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was a fun experience. It'd be cool to go back out there again. It's such a different vibe playing over
you
over
played
there.
Sydney, right?
Yeah, Sydney.
We had Lee from Crooked Royals on talking about Sydney crowds.
Sure.
They're very. But what he told me, this is like metalcore, so it'd be quite different.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
He said like people were very reserved to start with, and no one wants to really take part. But then, kind of, if you sort of like work at it and work at the crowd, they start to respond.
That was definitely the thing.
But they take a lot of work.
Yeah, that was definitely the thing that we got told when we went over there, because we did. I think we did 3 shows Sydney, 1 in Central Coast, so it was a bit of time to be over there and figure things out. And yeah, that was definitely the thing that we felt, and were also told is that like at the beginning, just nobody was moving. Like there was a lot of people sort of there, and you could maybe see a couple of toes tapping or something like that, but nobody was like really getting into it until we tried to put in a lot of work for it. And no, that was a super fun experience. And I think that's sort of why I want to go over there again as well and see if we can grow the fan base over in that region.
Would you want to try and be based out of Australia? Is that a big long-term goal?
I think
not really?
Me at the moment, my absolute dream scenario is that I can just run Voodoo Bloo out of Wellington, but be able to go over to these other places and play shows there. But depending on how it all goes, because the Wellington music scene, I love it a lot, but
it's constricted.
It is, yeah, and the amount of people that are actually around that want to go and see shows, it's definitely not as big as Sydney. There's definitely a lot more people over there.
It's the same as Auckland.
Yeah.
It's the same. I mean, yes, it's better, but it's still like people going to local shows. Like people.
Yeah.
It's better than it was. Since COVID, it's been better. Since like the late 2010s weren't great for local shows.
Sure. Okay.
But these days, I find it better. There's a bit more buzz, and I think in the punk scene, I've noticed like punk rock, which is something I didn't really foresee.
Yeah,
but it also makes sense because of the reaction to pandemic and all that stuff. I also understand it.
Yeah.
So, but that's what I've noticed recently as being like a bit of a buzz, especially with bands like I went to like the Boondocks, had Scott on a few times, and they're not really punk. But then the other bands that I've seen play with them, things like Pink Plates, and then
Late to Chelsea.
Weird. I saw them. I was like, this is odd. This is interesting. It's just in the background of their show was like this whoa, like noise.
Really?
I was like, what is that? What is that in the back? Is that meant to be there? I was like,
oh, interesting.
I mean, that's funny.
I still haven't caught one of their shows. I wonder if that was on accident.
It made me laugh.
Yeah, totally.
But it made sense with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I was like, interesting choice.
Yeah, for sure.
But then like it wasn't a few other those are the ones come to definitely mind right now. But just the buzz around some of those bands.
Absolutely.
I was like,
absolutely
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely cool. I definitely, even being based out of Wellington, Auckland bands are the thing that we hear about the most. Right. Even being part of the Wellington scene, I hear more about Auckland bands than I do about people in Wellington, which I find very funny. And I mean, I heard a little bit from Lou from Holloway, and I think that was part of the reason the move
to Auckland.
Yeah, was just to sort of try and grow it a little bit more.
I think he said he found that with being in Wellington, that with the music that he's doing, like the metal scene's pretty pumping, but like that's like the metal scene. It's like, because I've heard a lot of metal bands from Wellington as well, prog metal bands as well,
for sure.
And there's a lot of that, but then there's not when you do alternative music in general,
it's a hard sell.
I heard it's quite tricky because in Auckland, you can, if you're an alternative band, whatever that means.
Literally whatever that means.
You do have quite a lot to play with here in terms of shows. You know, you've got like the Underground to Whammy Bar to even Galatos to, I mean, Ding Dong, even if you wanted to do alternative music shows. You can go and just do a version of alternative music there. It doesn't, not just rock, not just metal, not just hardcore or whatever. So you can kind of go, and there's a lot more, people are a bit more, I think now with the big umbrella of alternative music. There's a lot more space for everybody to kind of fit.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's really cool that the scene is sort of getting bigger here.
It used to be more divided. Like when I was younger, it was like rock. And then it was metal. And then there's hardcore. And then it was all like separate. But I think
that is Wellington for sure at the moment.
Still like that?
That's the climate at the moment. It's you like one sort of thing and you go to those sorts of shows.
It's kind of old school.
It really is. It makes it hard for everybody to collaborate and have a good time and sort of try to elevate each other up. But I hope that it turns around one day. I definitely think that if people start paying attention to what's happening up here, then it might be able to spread the word in Wellington as well. But I guess we'll have to see how it goes. It is funny though, because I swear that every artist that I've spoken to, no matter the city in New Zealand, they're just like, fuck, I want to get out of X and go and play in other cities in New Zealand, you know? Like, it's just never
greener.
It's never being satisfied like where you are at that moment, which I find so funny, and I try to keep that in my mind just because it's
grass is not always greener.
It's like, even though I have my issues with Wellington, it's just like, you know, everybody is going through this at the moment where they're thinking somewhere else is going to be better. The music's going to hit harder over there. So, you know.
This is what you want out of it as well. I think the best band I've seen to make like their music career like properly, pretty much into a career now is Banks Arcade. So they're from, well, they started in Auckland, but I think some of the members are from like small town New Zealand.
Oh right, yep.
But they have gone over to Australia, to Melbourne, and they base themselves out of Melbourne.
Right.
But like that metal scene's pretty good in Melbourne for them, and then they've now played like Download and done lots of cool stuff. It's been great to watch them as they started, just like every small. But then it's like, to push yourself to make it a career, it's like, I'd probably get out of New Zealand. If that's the ultimate goal.
It's so true. It like, really is.
You can't, it's too small. People don't have enough interest.
You
know, in Australia, there's much more buzz. There's a lot more media support. There's probably more things like out there. I mean, my podcast isn't just music. I do a bit of everything, which I enjoy.
Sure.
But a lot of stuff I'm doing music, but I haven't, I mean, there's a couple of other music, like other little podcasts here and there. Do a few things
for sure.
I don't think there's just as much support, or even on a big level, to like promote bands, promote artists, get you on bills. Like, it's a lot of grind here.
Plus, I mean, especially in Australia, it's just like, from the friends that we have over there, the attitude is that you just go out on a night and you sort of see what's happening. Whereas here, I feel like it's very much like, oh, this person I know is playing a show. We should go and see that, and it's planned out in advance. It's just, there seems to be a lot more discovery with what's going on over there.
We're just lazy.
I think there's definitely a lot of that in it as well.
Who did I have on that? Who did I have on last time? Was it Ben Ruick, or was it, maybe it was? No, it was Ben from Holy Crime. We were talking a bit about that. I mean, just like we talked a lot about DIY New Zealand culture and stuff, and we started talking about just like the laziness. A lot of the time. With just Kiwis, like everything's like, oh, like, nah, I don't want to do that. Nah, she'll be right. Oh, if I have to.
One thing we've really been trying to navigate at the moment is like the door sales versus online sales thing, because we find that, like, at least double the amount of people will come and pay on the door, even though online tickets have been there and are cheaper for like 2 or 3 weeks beforehand. And it's just that thing of like not knowing whether they want to commit until like the very last moment, and then they decide that they want to come. Which I just find so funny, because it's like, we'll put it out there and it's just like, you can get this for like $10 cheaper.
Yeah, so much
if you just
cheaper.
do this online.
People want the freedom to be able to show up or not, right?
I think that's the
but
thing.
then it might sell out, but then it's like, well, we don't care. So
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing it's so hard to navigate as like a band that's still trying to find its footing after all of these years. There's still little things that come up like that, and it seems like an unsolvable problem, but yeah.
I was watching one of my favorite bands I love listening to so much is Shikari from the UK.
I've heard a bit of their stuff.
I love them to bits. They do a bit of everything. If you like music that's all over the place, check them out.
Okay.
But they kind of they start off more of like they're like kind of post-hardcore,
right?
Sort of more, I guess, emo stuff, and then progressed more into like alternate rock, and then done all kinds of electro sort of different stuff. But anyway, I watched one of their shows that I think it was at Ali Pali, and they sold it out, which is pretty amazing for a band like that.
Absolutely,
but how much was the capacity of Ali Pali?
I think it's like 10K from
10,000 people.
Yeah, I think from memory. Yeah,
right. So. But it's interesting as well, because a band like that, like you look at like stats on followers and that, like it's good, like 100,000, I think, to 200,000 on like Instagram.
Yeah.
Spotify streams are roughly 500,000, which is great. But it's always like looking at those numbers, like followers or how big a band is online to streaming numbers. Is that real? Because that's always something I think about a bit, because I look about Shikari, like they have such a dedicated fan base, people who love them a lot, and a lot of alternative bands do, because it's such a sort of subculture. People are very invested. But I do wonder with like, sometimes there's bands who will have these streaming numbers or have a lot of followers, but how does that translate to the real world?
For sure.
I think about that sometimes, because there's years ago, there was a big scam artist rock band guy. I forgot his name.
Is this the guy who was going around like booking tour dates in huge places?
Yes, I forgot his name. But he had like a massive amount of Facebook followers, heaps of views on things, and like falsified his stats. Everyone of this guy must be legit.
But
it was all just a facade. And bullshit.
That's crazy. I remember seeing videos of like
I forgot his name. That's been about 10 years ago. Or
and there was just be like 20 people in the crowd or something like that in this massive venue. I mean, it's that sort of thing's got to catch up with you someday, right? Like that's a great example of it. Like he falsified all of his stats and he ended up in that position,
Because even I got called out once when I first released my music on Spotify, and I had this there was a playlist promotion company.
Yep.
I had never heard of. This must have been 2017, I think. And they approached me and were like, "Oh, we can help you get on some playlists." Now, in my head, I was like, "Oh, do you own these playlists? Like these are your ones." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like cool. Like if you can get me on, I'll pay a little fee. Whatever. Just bots."
Did you see a massive spike one day and then it just dipped?
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I got scammed. But then it's like, we got you numbers. It's like, but these are bullshit numbers.
Yeah, they absolutely
and
are.
then I was like, fuck. And then Spotify came out with like, you can't trust anybody for playlists unless it's us. You can get added to people's playlists, but that's like, if you reach out to people, like I guess you reach out to an owner of a playlist or something maybe. But I was like, interesting. I was like, but I noticed like there are bands I've seen, especially in New Zealand, who will buy streams. I've seen that.
No, it does happen.
And buy numbers. You guys do quite well on YouTube with your videos. You guys do a bit of promote. I noticed you guys. I saw some comments saying people found your videos from ads. So you do like some YouTube ads.
Yeah, we do run those, and we definitely learn our lesson from running those in the past. So from like a previous project that I had, not to do with Voodoo Bloo, I set up, or my dad set up an ad campaign for the first time, and the views were absolutely insane, but that's because we were just targeting everybody and it was showing the whole video as an advert on YouTube. And we're like, oh my god, why is this doing so well? And I was just like, I've actually just botted my own video and this feels terrible. like I really wanted to just take it down because it had like 100,000 plays. I was like, this feels so scummy.
This feels wrong.
Yeah,
it's not right.
Yeah, because I mean, if it legitimately got that amount of views, that would make me ecstatic. But then I just looked at it the next day and I was just like, we need to... Literally, as soon as like 2 days of it went on, I was just like, we need to kill this immediately. And it's been a lot of fine tweaking to try and figure out how to do that now. Especially, the number one rule is if you're going to do YouTube advertising, do not make the actual video the thing that you're advertising. Otherwise, it's just going to make your numbers look crazy, and it feels so wrong.
Yeah, because you're just showing to everybody and just forced in front of them.
Yeah,
it is a way to game the algorithm.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not the right way to do it.
It sucks. Because I mean, the actual clips that we show for the advertising, they have a lot more than the video itself, but that's not the thing that's like public facing. That's just showing to us this many people have seen it. And then we see how many people clicked through, and that's what actually gets shown, and that's the organic growth, I guess, of what's going on. But man, that first experience was the worst. It was the absolute worst.
Yeah. I've seen a few bands do that. Like I've had full videos as well. And I'm like, I've always wondered that. But because I've done it with my stuff, but I always did like I made specific videos for it. 10, 15 seconds or 30 seconds. That's what we do now. Yep. I just do those and then have links, and then views on that obviously don't matter at all. But what matters is if someone does click through.
Yeah, then it's organic.
Then it means something. But that's I work in digital marketing myself, so I've been learning. I've kind of been getting a lot of good knowledge about how these play, especially Google Ads. Google Ads is amazing.
Oh, it is.
It's amazing, but you got to know how you got to know how it works.
It's a bit of trial and error for sure.
Once you sort of work through, like, and also like the more narrow you are and the more information you give it, the better.
Yeah,
it's always gonna
totally.
Work better. Yeah, and I think for bands, like, man, that's the thing. Talk about on here a bit is you got to wear so many hats these days. You can't just be a musician anymore. I heard you
anymore. Talking to Lorenzo about this. I think it's so true.
Yeah. You got to wear a lot of hats, and I think for a lot of musicians, it's very overwhelming. And I think, but I think now, I guess if you're, I'm almost 30, but I suppose when I started, I was like, fuck, this is like, it was like this turning point when I started a band. It was like, do we get a label? Because labels are still they're still a thing, but then it was like, oh, a label could be beneficial. We could do this on our own, but they're still thinking of a label would be good.
Totally.
And then, like, Spotify and streaming. I think, I said like Reverb Nation was a thing, and like things like that. It was hard to get your music online apart from YouTube. Yeah, and even that wasn't like, how would I say? It wasn't it was a good metric, and it wasn't as well. It doesn't feel as official.
Sure, yeah.
But then it was like, oh, we've got to discover how to use all these other networks. But now it's just the norm. It's like, I'm on DistroKid, TuneCore, DRM or whatever in New Zealand, and then you have your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your TikTok, have all your channels, and then this is how you operate. You got to be posting like this regularly, all this. It's just like, wow, everyone's their own company.
It's so true. It really is true. There's so many things to keep up with now. And at the beginning of this year, I took quite a break from doing anything Voodoo Bloo because we just finished recording what we had in 2023. And I knew that we sort of had to start putting some timelines together of what this year was going to look like, and I just completely erased everything that was on the TikTok, made the Instagram look cleaner, and I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I need to try and do it right, because before that I was definitely just making content for the sake of it. Yeah. And when I was doing that, it's just like, if I don't even want to watch the thing that I've put out,
who's going to want
to? Yeah, nobody's going to want to. And that's definitely been a big thing this year, is if I'm going to work on less things, but I'm going to give way more of a shit about the things that I actually am doing.
Well, that's what's funny about the algorithm now. I think it's changed because it used to be posting a lot. That was actually what it loved. Whereas now it's like it values your engagement, like the engagement you get from a post, but that means the quality of the post or the video or whatever it may be, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's like, for a while it was just, even TikTok when it started, it was like, just feed the machine.
It was.
Feed the machine.
It was just, as long as people are staying on the app and they're scrolling through your shit, you're going to get followers.
Feed it. Yep. So it's quite funny there.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I still feel like, even like with a podcast, like uploading reels, I only do it a few times. I probably only post like maybe 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
And I've been experimenting with like schedule.
Yeah.
Like, what if I post it this time? What if I post it this time? What if I do this day? What if I do that day?
Yeah.
Some days I will put up. It always baffles me with this podcast. I don't know what works and doesn't until I've done it.
Yeah.
So like, as an example, I will post a video up of I think I had the guy a comrade from the Sun Gods come on, and he talked about time signatures. It's a very nerdy musician, quite a niche thing to talk about.
Sure.
And I was like, I quite like this myself.
Yep.
So I put it up, and it did got quite, for us did quite well for the podcast. Got a fair few thousand views and quite a bit of engagement.
Absolutely.
And I was like, why? And then I will put up something more generic, and I'm like, oh, this might do well. Not because I in my head I'm like, I'd put this up for it to do well.
Yeah,
but I like this, but I think other people can connect.
You see the audience.
There's more generic, more coverage.
Yeah.
And it will do shit.
Right.
And
I
I will always be baffled. So I just kind of keep it like, hey, I will find the parts like when I release clips, as long as I think I like it and I'd watch it.
Totally.
It's cool. I think the other day, like I was posting some stuff I'd had with Holy Crime, and I noticed one video I put up straight away where I think he's talked about his band name. It did, I don't know why, but it did quite well.
Oh, really?
And then I posted another video and it did nothing.
Oh, really?
And like a 3-day difference.
Sure.
And I was like, is this the time I'm putting it up? Is this a hashtag I've used?
It makes
like, how
no
deep
sense.
do I go to figure this out?
Yeah.
And shout out Ben for coming on. That was cool. But it was like, I can't quite get a grip on it, so I've just like learned to let it go.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep doing my thing.
Absolutely.
And if one video blows up, that's cool.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, whatever. I'm still gonna keep going with my schedule and my posts, what I'm doing.
And I think that's the healthiest mindset you can have about it, right? Like,
yeah, I think so, because I do watch videos. Like I do know with my videos and with the content I do, it's friendly to the algorithm, but it's not like I watch other podcasts as well, and they'll have like guys with like sound effects, or they'll do they'll have images and more video, because I only do a full podcast like audio. I don't edit the whole thing because I just don't have time.
Oh, totally.
But I after like doing that, I'm like I watch because other people's channels may grow and then do this and do that, but I'm like, I don't want to do that at the moment. Like but then I look at the stuff I do and I'm like, well, I'm happy with it, and it does fine for what it is. But I look at like other channels and how they do things, and then trying to stay on top of what's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to fucking do that. I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And I mean that
I think that applies maybe to musicians as well, and just if you're a creative person, like if you want to jump on. It just goes back to jumping on trends or jumping on what you think's going to do well for other people. It's not. I don't think it's a good route to go down.
No, I don't either. Especially from me trying to do that ages ago.
Are you trying to do a version of that?
Well, I mean, not through anything like specific, but it definitely was a thing of, I don't know, trendy thing is going on TikTok or Instagram. Try to replicate it as the band. Wonder why it's not doing well, get upset about that, and then start the whole process over again. Whereas now for me, it is definitely just like, do I give a shit about this? Yes, I do. I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah.
People are going to like it. They're not going to like it. I don't know when or if they will, but that's fine with me. It's just trying to be more content with myself and what's going out.
I think that's a really healthy way to approach it, because I think otherwise you're just going to get too like just bombarded by trying to overthink about how do I work this. I look at it like as long as I do like the bare minimum. Because one thing I noticed with Reels is like doing subtitles. As long as I do that.
Sure. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. I don't envy the job of putting up subtitles. They seem...
It's easy, man. You just
It is?
got to find the AI.
Okay, yeah, that makes
AI,
sense.
bro, come on, man.
Because for YouTube, when we're like doing the music video subtitles, I've not had to do... I've attempted it in the past, and then I've just immediately handed it over to somebody else, because YouTube does not want to listen to me, man, when I'm trying to like sync everything up in time. But yeah.
I remember doing subtitles before, like I found AI subtitles.
Oh yeah.
With even like short videos to music videos, like fuck. And then one of the other things I learned with doing subtitles and all that is just some basic spelling stuff.
Oh, sure.
Because like sometimes I'm not thinking and I'm like, oh yep, sweet, and I look back and I'm like, oh, it's spelled wrong. That's there forever now.
Yeah. It's almost in the last album that we got put on vinyl, and we sent everything to Holiday Records to get it printed, and at the very last minute my dad was like, so many of these words are just not what you say. And I was like, shit, that's about to get printed onto a lyric sheet. I have to sort that out immediately. It's but it's just something that's so easy to go over your head.
So easy, yeah.
Because you've worked on this thing for so long, you know how it goes, but then you haven't actually put it down to paper. Like,
it's like
exactly
it's even something as basic I find with like work. Like you write an email and you're like, oh, this is what I'm saying, and come back and I'm like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. I'm just like, oh, I need to like go through it. But so, I envy the people who can write things and get it perfect straight away.
I don't know how it's done.
Neither. I don't know the art form. I fuck it up about 3 times and then it might be right.
For sure. I screened the all of the lyrics for something that we're working on at the moment, like 3 different times. Sent it into DRM. Wrong thing has just immediately appeared onto Spotify when the lyrics come up, and it's just damn it. One day I will get it right. But
So I noticed one of your videos, what one was it, had UK in the brackets? Why is that there?
So, that is something that I'm going through the process of sorting out at the moment.
Right.
But we were working with somebody on the first album cycle, who maybe wasn't the best influence for trying to sort out which direction the band should be going into.
Okay, I think I see.
Yeah, and as a 17-year-old was very easily swayed by somebody going, you should do this because it'll help your band. And I was like, sick, I will do this. So
I'll trust you. Yeah,
it was definitely a thing of trying to, and the idea is there, and it's not malicious, that we were just trying to push it to a different market overseas and try and see if it would help there. But I think just throughout the process of working with this person, it was just like, maybe I should try and think about how I'm going to run things in the future. So, I think that version of the song was also like a slightly... It was a different music video, which was great that we got to record that in the first place. So,
Interesting. Yeah. So you deliberately did that for another market. Like so you put that in there. I noticed people have done that with like US as well. So I've seen some Kiwi bands do that. It's just to advertise or specifically for.
Yeah.
Why? I never really understood it, because what's so different about is it just the video? Because the song's the same.
Video,
like the song's the same. So it's like a slight touch on the video.
Yeah, it's a lot of incompetence and ignorance on my end when I was about 17 years old and still trying to figure things out for myself.
17's fine to make those mistakes, man.
Yeah.
It's also time you gotta, like, it's hard when you're young, like, trying to give your baby to somebody, to help you, and who to listen to.
Yeah.
That takes a while to figure out.
I was way too much of a fucking sponge. I would listen to somebody somebody says, and I'm just like, okay, I'll go do that now, and then it would just lead to nothing good for me. And it's definitely been a process to like just to vet everything that comes in and just be like, is this something that we actually want to do?
Yeah.
Plus, saying no to things as a band sometimes is weird. I don't know if that's just a me thing, but definitely
you got to learn to say no.
Yeah,
it's just about becoming an adult.
Yeah, I think it is,
because when you're young, you're like, oh yeah, let's do it all.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, the fact that you even mentioned that's awesome. Yeah, let's try that out. And then you end up being like, they were being a bit slimy.
Yeah.
That's always a life lesson to learn.
For sure. And it always ended up being not people in New Zealand that were sort of coming to me with these influences of sorts.
And you got to ask yourself, like, who is this person? Like, who are they? You know, sometimes you got to know like
Yeah.
where are they from.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
what company are they in? Are
Yeah.
they in a company?
Yeah.
Is it just some random dude on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, the person specifically with the UK version thing, they had legitimate ties to like a credible company over. I won't go into anything too in depth, but
Sure.
we did check that one out and it seemed fine, but under the surface it wasn't really. But you know, that's the joys of working in music.
Yeah.
You figure
Life
things out
lessons.
as you go.
Yeah, it's for the love. That's what I say.
Yeah,
For the
yeah.
love of it. What do you do outside of music?
Outside of music, wow. I know I said that I'm busy a lot, but now I'm trying to think of anything interesting I do outside of like doing the dishes or laundry and things like that. No, I mean, I just like to hang out with my friends a lot and go to town and honestly, it is to see gigs most of the time. It never, even if music isn't the whole experience that I have on a night out, it's definitely somewhere part of it.
Sure.
So I mean, that's the main thing I get up to. Embarrassingly, sit at home and play a lot of video games, and also work in IT, which is just.
It's not embarrassing playing video games.
Oh well, yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I think if you do 12 hours a day every day.
yeah, I have friends like that, which thankfully it makes it pretty easy to go and play games with them, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's the healthiest lifestyle to live by any means. But I don't know. That's music really is my main shtick, man. It's what I like learning about all the time. It's the main media that I intake, everything like that. I'm definitely slowly getting into film a lot more.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Just based off of two of the band members being film majors at uni, so I get a lot of recommendations by them. It's sometimes hard to intake all that a film bro says about about media and what they want me to watch, but you definitely get some cool stuff out of it. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, you can also get so much creative knowledge you can learn, and then you can like, you know, also like, is a lot of inspiration like
Yeah.
you can take from film,
Yeah.
or video, and then you can also look at how you do your music videos
Sure.
and how you apply, you know, those sorts of ideas. And,
yeah,
yeah,
it helps.
That's cool, man. Sweet. All right, man. I don't know what's our time.
What is our time?
Yeah. Oh, done pretty good.
Yeah.
I got a couple more. I think I got a couple more questions
Yeah,
for you.
sure.
So just some more generic ones.
Absolutely.
When did you start music?
When did I start music? I started playing guitar when I was 7. And I think that the first time that I ever wrote a song or anything like that, I must have been 12 or 13. All of the intake of that was just listening to Green Day.
Green Day.
In that amount of time.
That's generally a starting band.
Oh,
A lot of
it
people,
for
yeah.
sure is. It was all that.
Well,
I
which
consumed.
album? Like American Idiot or
I mean, it was
Dookie or all of it?
for the beginning, it was definitely just American Idiot, and then sort of, I don't know if graduated is the right word, but graduated to listening to Dookie, and then just sort of went to Nimrod and went all over the place. I honestly became obsessed with them with the point that I enjoyed the trilogy albums that came out during
wow,
that point in
yeah.
time.
Own Do Trey, right?
Yeah, I do not like them now, but I was into it at the time for some reason.
I was shocked when those were released after the 21st Century Breakdown.
Yeah.
Because I remember they came here on that 21st Century Breakdown tour.
Sure,
And
yeah.
I loved them. And
Yeah.
that was a cool album as well. Not as iconic as American Idiot, but still a great album.
Yeah, it's a great follow-up to that
To
record.
American Idiot. And then those ones came out and I was like, and then I think for me, I just left it.
Yeah, that's probably around the time that I started to move on to other music, like
Yeah.
I don't know, Marilyn Manson and Slipknot. Those were two ones after that.
Slipknot. What was your first Slipknot you listened to? The first album or song?
It would have been Volume 3 for sure.
Great album.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I hear everybody say that Iowa is like cannot be touched, and it is like the best one. But I have a soft spot for Volume 3.
It's more dynamic.
It for sure is.
I was just fucking angry as shit. So angry.
It doesn't
so
stop.
intense. I remember when
Yeah.
I first heard what was one of the first Slipknot songs I heard? I think it might have been off. Was off the first album? Liberate. Is that off the first album? I think that song. And like, oh no, Surfacing's off the first album.
Yes,
I heard
yeah.
that, and I was like, fuck. I actually got a bit like freaked out.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
kind of scary. And then I was like 12 or something when I first heard it.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they released All Hope Is Gone, and that's around the time I really got into them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, love that album. Still do.
That's still one that I've got to like come back to. Like I know the singles off of that, like Snuff and Psychosocial for sure, but Volume 3 in the first album was definitely like where I got my Slipknot fix from for a long time there.
Yeah, the album since then, like it's I mean it's just unfortunate. It just had so many horrible things happen to the band.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Members passing away and
Yeah.
people leaving, and then it's hard to replicate it because I think I said like Joey Jordison
Yeah.
and Paul Gray were actually the sole writers. They were like the main songwriters of that band.
I didn't. Well, I knew that they were like around since the beginning,
Yeah.
but I didn't know how much influence they had on.
Here's
the
some
actual music
Slipknot
there.
trivia for you. The song Duality.
Yep.
The riffs of that song are written by Joey Jordison.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
From what
I didn't even know the dude played anything apart from the drums.
He plays guitar. Yeah.
Wow.
He's a guitarist,
Okay.
yeah.
Damn.
Craziest death metal drummer as well.
Yeah.
Rest in peace,
Because he had another band that came to Wellington.
Murder Dolls. Was it Murder Dolls?
I think it might have been.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't go to that show, but I had a friend who got. Actually, it's Taylor from Holloway who got his drumstick signed by him. So that was pretty cool.
I just imagine all the Wellington bands hang out all the time because it's like there's only like 10 of you, like 10 bands.
There pretty much is. I mean, it's honestly happened more nowadays, even though there's still that divide that we spoke about earlier about who actually shows up to shows and who doesn't, everything in that regard. But I definitely think that like we hang out more as a collective, which is pretty cool.
You need each other.
Yeah, we do. There's not many of us around.
It's funny,
it's too small to make enemies around there. So
yeah, because Wellington is like I mean, for people listening, Wellington in New Zealand's like the artistic capital. Some would say, like it kind of is, but it's still small.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people? It's small. Is it smaller than Hamilton?
I'm pretty sure that it is from memory.
Is it 200,000 people?
It's 200,000 people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so small.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think we need to give the title to somebody else, man. Like, Auckland has so many more artists that are doing things out here. I don't know why we're holding on to this like artistic capital because I don't know. It's not from a lack of pride in my hometown, but I just feel like there's so many other things going on elsewhere. But that could be the grass is greener thing that we were talking about as well. So
could be. All right. Well, I think I'll get into. It's not. I would love to say my segment, but it's totally not original at all.
Sure.
It's quick fires that end up not being quick fires.
All right.
So since you're a guitarist as well, what's your favorite guitar brand? Do you have a favorite brand?
I mean, it was Gibson up until recently. Got a Fender Telecaster.
Fender Telecaster.
Yeah, and I was just I got a Bixby modification on it as well, and that thing just fucking rips. And now I'm a bit of a Fender fanboy after that. So yeah, that one's a good brand.
Cool. Any pre-show rituals?
Honestly, it is not talking to anybody, pacing around the venue, and honestly, I really hate it, but being a little bit passive aggressive because I actually don't know what to do with my emotions before I get on stage. I try to wear headphones because like I feel so sorry for anybody that talks to me on that night.
Is it nerves?
Oh, absolutely.
Anxiety?
Yeah,
okay.
And if I'm not nervous before a show, then it's not going to be good in my eyes, or at least from past experience.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I love talking to people after the show so much. I will go and talk to everybody who's shown up, thank them for being there, but I will try my best to not be around the venue like until I sort of need to be there. Just because I get so nervous and I don't know how to talk to people. Maybe passive aggressive isn't the right word, but I lose
standoffish. You're a bit standoffish.
I just lose all social skills because there's like one thing that's whirring around my mind, and I don't know what to do with it until I'm up there.
What are you worried about? Messing up? Or what are you worried about people getting thinky? I'm just curious. Like, it's like to be that to like completely remove yourself from the venue. I think other people do that.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of everything. It's like even if a majority of the tickets are sold, wondering if anybody's going to show up. It's worrying about if I play something wrong during one of the songs, or what if some of my gear becomes unplugged and I don't know which wire is broken on the pedal board. My singing, is that going to be okay for the night? It's literally just everything together, and it just creates this little nervous ball inside of my head, and as soon as I start playing, I feel fine. Like, the nervousness, literally, as soon as I start the show, it's gone immediately, and I just get up there and I have a fun time. So, real weird one, because you'd expect for it to go throughout the whole thing if I'm feeling that way beforehand, but it doesn't. So
you probably in a punk band, maybe you probably care the most.
Yeah, maybe.
Most people don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah,
I'm very. I don't know. I guess for me, like I when I get on stage, when I was doing acoustic stuff, I was a bit more like that.
Right.
But when I used to just be in a band, I was like,
yeah,
we rehearsed.
Yeah,
we'll be right.
For sure.
We know what we're doing. If something goes wrong,
Yeah. And I mean, it's like
But I think, have you done solo shows?
Ages ago, like when I first
I found that
started.
Really tough.
Yeah.
To start with. That's like really getting down to like the bare bones of of just music and playing, and it's just you.
Yeah, and that's been sort of a mental thing for me at the moment, is because I used to just write by singing and playing guitar in my room, and that was how I did it, but I haven't done that in years now, and it's sort of been a bit of a task for me to go back and like just play some acoustic cover songs in your room, or just try and play one of the songs that you usually play on stage in your room, because you hear a lot more of what you're doing in that environment compared to like a practice with amps just just blaring back in your face. Everything sounds good if it's loud, so you just don't even notice that.
You're screaming over everything.
Yeah,
Great.
And it's definitely been a thing to come back and just be like, get back down to it, see what you're good at, see what you're not good at, work on it from there.
Yeah, I find a good one is record myself, just like, even if it's a crappy recording.
Sure.
Like, what is this going to sound like? Because even a phone recording now, like, what's this going to sound like?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, we need to change that.
It sounded a lot better in my head.
Yeah. Maybe I should change that. And then you start being like, maybe change the song, and then you get used to it.
Sure.
But interesting. Okay, another one. Ooh, I'd like asking this one, so I get some interesting responses. Strangest gig experience.
Oh, man.
At a show or at your own show, whichever. Strangest gig experience.
Sorry, I needed some water before this one.
Good.
The very first tour that I did in that previous band that I spoke about earlier. First tour I ever did as a musician in any kind, so super stoked about it. Played the first show in Wellington. And this was at a venue called Valhalla. You store all of your equipment.
I've heard none of them.
Yeah. And you store all of your equipment like up, sort of like on the roof to the side of the stage, or at least you did at this point in time. We were the first band on, and then there was another one coming on after, and there was this woman in a white dress standing at the front who had a bit of a terrible smell going on about her.
Okay.
And she just drunk as shit up there, and we're just like, okay, gonna stay away from that one for a little bit, wait until the show's done, go grab our gear, and we have to go to Hamilton overnight to play the next show. And I remember walking upstage and sort of slipping in something, and I didn't think anything of it. My mind was still whirring at this point. Had the adrenaline from playing the show, whatnot. Go put all of my clothes and shit that I was wearing for the gig in a bag, put them on the next day, and only realizing after I had done a second show and was driving back from Hamilton to Wellington that this woman had shit right in front of the stage. None of the venue had noticed. I had not noticed. And it was all over my stage clothes, and I wore it for an entire gig. It was the worst fucking experience of my life. And that was the second time. That was the first time I'd ever played a tour. And that was the first thing that happens to me. It sucked so bad, dude.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Closest I've ever been to Gigi Allen, but yeah.
gross, but a great story.
It always gets people intrigued from the get go. That was a bad time.
Shit at the front of the stage.
Yeah. She literally.
How drunk are you to take a shit and no one noticed?
I know.
How crazy are these bands?
I know. Also, the thing is,
How do you have time to do that?
Yeah, how do you have time? How do you not notice yourself? How do you not slip in it if I fucking did? You know? But yeah, that's one of the weirdest stories that I probably have from gigging.
That's a good one.
Also, quick one from Valhalla. When I was loading in the gear, I saw someone's toes being sucked as soon as I walked in. So that's another quick one. Shout out Valhalla, we love you so much.
Oh man,
never change.
Like as in like you open like the door where you're gonna load the gear in, and someone's toes just being sucked.
Yeah. Like fully clothed and everything. So it was like I was just like, okay, dude, never change Valhalla.
Is this a male and female, or is this a male or a female?
Male and female.
Male, female.
Female is doing the toe sucking, and the dude's just. He seems to be having fun.
He's enjoying it.
didn't really want to inquire any further than that, but yeah.
Damn, bro, you might have won this. And of all the strange ones,
I'll be expecting my medal in the.
The strange gigs. That's good. Damn. I shit on this. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think it's like the side of the street or something. I was like, oh, that's still rank as shit.
Literally.
By the front of the stage.
The walkway to actually get up onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, some people, man.
I know.
Bring back the electric chair.
If there's any time to get it back, it's now.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. If I got one more for you, let me see if I can pull out of thin air. Advice for upcoming musicians. Okay, one piece of advice if you could give.
Okay.
One piece. Out of your years of doing it, touring, releasing music.
Okay.
One piece of advice.
I would probably say don't do it. And if you're not going to listen to me, then put literally every fucking thing that you have into it.
Oh.
That's all I would say.
That reverse psychology.
Yeah, that's literally, I mean, that's all there is to it, I think. Yeah. You either really fucking want it or you don't.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't have the success to show for that second part that I'm trying to do, but it's how I feel every day. And it's just what I want to do.
Awesome. Oh, cheers, man. Thanks for coming on, Rory.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. No, it was good to learn about what you're doing. And got some good stories. It was cool.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Do you have anything? Actually, before we go again, do you have anything you'd like to mention that you've got upcoming?
Yes. So we have a new song coming out on March 15th called Cardboard Box Office.
Cool.
It legitimately is one of the best songs that we're going to put out. Super happy with it. Super happy with the direction the band's going in. If you're in Wellington, we're playing a show at the Welsh Dragon on the 9th of March. But if not, just go check us out where we're available.
Sweet. All right, man. Thanks for that. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thanks so much for having me on.
No, all good, man. Great to learn about you. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Bye.